Hey everyone, ever look at a t-shirt design or your artwork and wonder why it's not selling? Well, you're not alone. Most designers make the same 7 big mistakes, and I've done them too. But once you know what they are, you'll start seeing them everywhere, and more importantly, you'll stop doing these. Whether you're creating for print on demand, starting a brand, or just doing some graphic design, these mistakes could hold you back from connecting with people and getting you sales. In this video, I'm going to break down the 7 biggest mistakes that most beginner designers make. And not only that, I'm going to show you examples of what they are so you can recognize them when you see them. And stay till the end because the last mistake is something even experienced designers do. So the first mistake is copying brands. Now I did this when I first started graphic design. I would go into a store and look at all the Nike shirts or all the Adidas shirts or whatever brand it was and try and copy what they did. Now this is bad for 2 reasons. Well, it's bad for many reasons, but the main 2 reasons this is bad is brands don't have to follow kind of the same rules. Most people buy brand shirts like Nike and others not because of the design that's on there, but because it's the brand. So Nike can get away with creating like crazy designs that would never sell on their own, but because it's Nike and people love Nike, they're gonna sell it. The other thing is number 2, a lot of times the things that Nike are doing, including their logo and their sayings and everything, it's copyrighted. So don't copy their stuff. You're gonna get hit with IP infringement and all of that stuff. So you can look at brands for just inspiration and stuff, but if you're trying to copy their style and their things that they're saying and everything, that's not really gonna work out for you because of mainly those 2 reasons. So I'm going to show you an example of what Nike is doing and show you why this doesn't work. All right, so here are 4 examples from Nike. I was saying don't copy brands here, but look, this one just says Nike running division. It's just super simple, but someone would buy it because it says Nike. If you took out Nike and just said running division, you know, it doesn't have the same feel or weight of it. People are buying it because it says Nike. This one also says Nike. Even if you took out the Nike thing here, this design is okay, but I think most people buy this because it says Nike, not necessarily how the design is, right? And it has the swoosh here, the Nike swoosh and all of it. So this one right here, super simple. Everyone watches women's sports. Now, if you just did that by itself, maybe you'll get some sales because women's sports is kind of high right now. There's a lot of women's sports, but more people are buying this because of the Nike logo that's right here. And we don't know if Nike trademarked this phrase here, so you have to be very careful as well. And this one is just a 90 in a circle, which is really cool and stuff, but what does it mean? We don't even, like, unless you're in sports or whatever, the average person may just be like, 90, who's that for? That I'm sure that's somebody important. I don't know who that is because I don't follow too many sports, but you get the idea. This people are getting this as white on black, and it's really cool, but I think it's probably related to somebody that's sponsored by Nike or something like that. So yeah, and this can work for any brand. If you go in and whatever your favorite brand is, you probably are looking at it and seeing like, oh, this is really cool, I'm gonna do the same thing. And I did that too when I started off as graphic design, but I didn't know that people buy brands because of the brand, not necessarily because how it looks. So the second biggest mistake is very similar to the first, and that is just copying bestsellers. So don't do that. Stop copying bestsellers and doing exactly the same thing. We see this a lot on Etsy, whether you're doing t-shirts or mugs or whatever you're trying to sell online. Just because those are the best sellers and you're copying them exactly doesn't necessarily give you sales. In fact, you can also get a copyright infringement for doing that as well. So you may see videos that say these are the ones that are selling and you can do something similar. That's not a great strategy. You should be original and do that. So most beginner designers think that they can just copy and get the same amount of sales, and that's very far from the truth. I'm going to show you examples on Etsy how you can see that one design that's clearly probably the original one, and then a lot of copycats that are getting 0 sales. All right, I'm here on Etsy. I have graphic t-shirts. I search for graphic t-shirt, and I have Everbee on here so you can easily see the monthly sales. So a lot of people do this and they go in and they say, oh, look, this one's getting a lot of sales. This Fox one right here, 49 sales a month. I'm gonna do something exactly like it. let's see what happens. So I'm gonna do Fox graphic t-shirt right here. And of course this is gonna get pulled up again. Remember it had 49 sales. And let's see if there's any copycats. Here's one that's very similar, not exactly the same. Here's one, exactly the same, 0 sales, right? So just because you have one that's copying the bestseller here and looks exactly the same doesn't mean that you're going to get any sales. In fact, the opposite. You should do the one that has more sales. Let's see. This one right here is totally different. This one that has 33 is different than this one with the butterfly. So there you go. You can see that having your own original one, just Fox with a butterfly, doesn't necessarily going to get you the sales that you want. It's, you know, you're copying a bestseller, but the bestseller is the one that's getting the sales. It already got the traffic. It's going to be on page 1 when people do graphic t-shirt and so on. So stop copying what other people are doing. That's not a great strategy. You should create your own design for, maybe foxes do well, but do your own fox t-shirt for people who love foxes. The third mistake that most beginner designers do is making bad font choices. So a lot of times people just put in whatever font they want in there. They find maybe a cursive font that looks really cool written out, but on a t-shirt you can't really read it, or create a font or pick a font that doesn't match the graphic, like it's totally different. Each font has their own feelings and things. So I'm going to show you an example of one design that I think uses a right font that matches the graphic, and then show you kind of the same design. I had ChatGPT help me out with this one, but using a bad font with kind of the same graphic, and you'll see the difference between the two. All right, so here's an example of good font choices versus bad font choices. In the beginning, this one right here, I think it's really good. You can see this font is really specialized, like it has some nice little things here. It's very easy to read and big, and it kind of matches the style of this artwork right here. So I think it works perfectly. The font works great with the graphics and easy to read. Those are the two big things. Like it has to have the same feeling, and also people when they see it can read it. Now here, ChatGPT kind of helped me with it. I know it spelled it wrong here and the graphic doesn't look the same, but imagine these fonts on this, it wouldn't have the same feeling, right? This is more fun, this is more kiddie and things, and that's not the feeling that we have here. This is more vintage and definitely for an older person, not a kid here. So the font can really make a big difference. Just because you like the font or that it's really cool looking font, you still need to pick the right font for the design and the audience that you're designing for. So think of that. And of course, it also has to be easy to read. This one can be read pretty easy. I know there's some other script fonts that are just so elaborate that you can't make out what letter it is, and that's a bad sign. So you also don't want it to be too small. So in here, it's nice to have big and small, but you can actually still read this. So that's still the right size. So readability is important, everything. So don't make bad font choices. They can make or break whatever you design are doing, whether it's t-shirt or posters or whatever you're putting your text on. So the next beginner mistake is using too many effects. I remember doing this when I was designing for a new graphic designer, and there were so many things that I was excited that I could do. I could bend the text, I could make it wavy, I could do different drop shadows and stuff. And I started using all of those on a design at the same time, and it just was overwhelming. And I know a lot of new graphic designers do that as well. I've seen it a lot on t-shirts, like, look at this, look, I can arch the text and do all these different things. So I'm going to show you a really bad example of a design that I made using all the effects at once, and you can kind of see these with new designers. You can probably go on to Redbubble and look at new and probably see some of these mistakes. You don't necessarily see this out in the wild because professional designers actually create t-shirts and other things in the wild, but you may see these online in places, POD shops, or you might have done this yourself. So let's take a look at a bad example of this. All right, so this one's really hard to find like online to search for these because like what do you type in? Bad example. So I actually did this one here in Kittl, just using all the effects that I could. And sometimes people do this, like look, I can make this shadow and I can use the other effects because Kiddo can do a lot of cool effects. And I can make it, I can do the gradient. Look at me, I can do this rainbow gradient and I can do all of this. Like, it just has too many. And again, it's hard to read sometimes with this stuff and it just doesn't work all together, right? Like, pick one effect or two and make sure that it works together. Now here, this person, I actually found these two online on Pinterest, and this person used two effects and they don't work well together. So this one has that vintage distressed on it and just makes it really hard to read. And what makes it even harder to read is now they have shadows beneath it. So they're trying to do two effects at the same time and it just doesn't work for readability. As well as, like, it's already a cursive font, which makes it a little hard to read, but then you have all these other things on it. Now, when you're using AI tends to do the same thing too. So this one's done by AI, you can tell because all the words are spelled wrong, like not, M, my, no, circus, no, and what is this, noxy? No, it's supposed to say monkeys, I think. And it's just using all these different effects and it just ruins it. Not only is it spelled wrong, but it's just too much going on at the same time. So just because you can do these effects and you're very proud that you can do it, don't make that the main thing of your design. Make sure your design is clean, easy to read, and all of that. You do need to have some interest in there, but you don't have to have all of it all at once. So use this subtly, and I think your designs can stand out and you can avoid this mistake. So the next beginner mistake is very similar, and that is just doing too much in general. So not just the text effects and not just all of that, it's just trying to cram in everything all at once and making it way too busy. So I'm going to show you some examples of this. You might see other designs that do this really well, but it's really hard to do for beginner designers. So I'll show you some really bad examples of what happens when you're trying to cram everything all together and make something that's really hard to read and just too much. All right, so here's an example of cramming too much into a design for t-shirts. Now this can be applied to posters or whatever art you're doing. Now, sometimes it can work, but it takes a really skilled artist to make this work. And these are examples where it's not working. So you can see all the different words here, different colors, and it's just really hard. Your eye trying to make sense of it, but it's just really hard to follow along. And I think if done right, designs like this could be really cool, but this one isn't a good example of this. This one, I think, is also done by AI because some of the things are just getting lost here and it's just a mess. Like, the colors are really cool, but when you're trying to read it and see, and some of these are just way too small to see as well. So another bad example of just cramming in too many things on one design. It just makes it not only hard to read, but people don't get it, and they'll probably just scroll by. If this was all together in a marketplace, someone won't necessarily stop on this one. They probably would look for something a lot easier to read and understand. So the next beginner mistake is forgetting about hierarchy. Now this is a next level thing. Like, most beginner designers don't even think about hierarchy, making things bigger and smaller and putting it in some kind of order so that your eye flows and everything. So I'm going to show you the difference on how visual hierarchy can change the look of a design and help you get more sales. So let's take a look at these examples. All right, I got 3 examples for you here. This one is the first one. Like, you can see the visual hierarchy, right? Like, mom stands out, son stands out on here. So when you first get to this, you can read that, and then it has other words here. But if you just did this all in the same font size and text, then it would look something like this. And although that's okay, I think this stands out a lot better. So this design style, instead of just making all the words the same, I think when you're scrolling past each other, I think this one would definitely stand out over this one. You can definitely see who's it for. It's for mom, and what it's about, son, instead of having your brain to try and read all of this. Now the same goes for this one right here. This one's the green monster, Boston and established here. You can see those really stand out the green monster is the one that stands out, and these other ones are kind of subordinate or a little bit smaller. It's not as important. But if you made everything the same size, everything is important or everything's not important, and it's hard to see that. And so I think this, again, has some visual hierarchy and can make things stand out and create a really good design that has interest as well. So take a look at the difference between what it would look like if it didn't have it and what it looks like in this case. And lastly, these are kind of like master classes of visual hierarchy. I got these off of Kiddo. Kiddo has some really good templates, so you don't even have to come up with these by yourself. You can go to Kiddo, use some templates, and maybe change some words. But look at all the hierarchy here. We got the bigger dragon and the bigger words, and then littler words here and little like thinner lines. In this case, big words, big graphic, and smaller, and you can kind of see trying to fill the space. So really cool how you can use these once you understand how visual hierarchy works. And the last one, like I said in the beginning, something that a lot of people still miss, and that is not designing for the audience. So you can create really good designs, make it look really cool, use all the other things like visual hierarchy and the right fonts and everything. But if you're not designing for the audience, then you're not going to get the sales that you're hoping for, because nobody's actually looking for it, or there's nobody that wants to buy this thing that you just made. So I'm going to show you examples of two designs that are for maybe the same audience, but you'll see that there actually isn't an audience for the second one. All right, so for this example, I pulled both of these off of Redbubble, where they sell t-shirts. And if you did a search for Apple, you may find this one right here, but you might not find this one because it would get buried. And let me show you why. So first, the audience, like it's doing all the things that we talked about, right? It's got nice hierarchy, it's got great fonts that's matching the design, but the audience are for people who love kawaii art. They would love this. Somebody that wants a funny design or funny saying. Instead, it says, an apple a day, you die anyway. It's a funny take on an apple a day keeps the doctor away. It has really good art, so people would find that. This is also geared towards kids, I think, because of the way it looks. I think also people who feel like kids would wear this as well, but it's got great color and everything. So there is an audience for this. People who love funny sayings and kawaii art and good art, and maybe even kids would wear this, right? Even though it's on an adult here. Now, just because you have an apple and a saying on your t-shirt doesn't necessarily mean that you have an audience. So I put like, what is the audience here? You got an apple. People who love apples will buy this? Not necessarily, because there's so many other choices. What does pick your moment mean with an apple? Pick your moment to eat. Like, it's so vague. I don't think it's funny. It's not necessarily a unique artwork on here. It's not a unique style of artwork like kawaii, and there's no like real audience. This is definitely not, or doesn't look like it's for kids. It looks like it's just super generic, and because of that, trying to make it for everybody and super generic means it's not for anybody, right? Like this doesn't connect. Like if you had a funny saying about an apple, maybe. If you had a nice creative way that you did an apple and doesn't even need words, then maybe. But because this is just super simple generic apple with a font, or well, first of all, a very generic font, probably Times Roman, and some words that don't necessarily mean anything or is funny or thoughtful or anything, it lacks an audience. And when people see this, they won't understand what it is and will scroll by and not buy it. So that's the big difference between here. This person was really designing for an audience. This is for people who love this or this or this and this. And in that case, it's getting a lot more sales than this does. So there you go. Those are the 7 beginner designer mistakes to avoid. I'll put them all here. Hopefully this video is really helpful for you. Make sure to avoid these and do the opposite of these things. Follow the examples in this video and hopefully get some sales online and as we get into Q4. Now, if you want to know what things to design for, You can design for animals. That's a really big popular topic. If you don't know what to design for, I made this list of top 10 animals that are really popular on t-shirts right now. They're probably popular on other products if you sell those as well. Hopefully this was really helpful. And as always, guys, keep creating and keep learning. I'll see you on the next one.